Hey folks, welcome to Mr. P's Film Review again, and here I am with another retrospective review of Spider-Man Homecoming, which was released in 2017 and stars Tom Holland and Michael Keaton. If you've been following me, thank you, and in case you didn't know, I've been doing a review of every Marvel film up until the release of Captain Marvel, which comes out in March of this year. This film takes place on a different timeline. This film takes place after the events of Captain America Civil War, and in this film we see a 15-year-old Peter Parker balancing school life with his life of being a crime fighter, and he is up against a mysterious villain known as the Vulture. Tom Holland is the third person to play Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire in 2002, I thought he was great. I liked what he brought to Spider-Man. I liked Spider-Man 2 even more. I think it's one of the best comic book films, one of the greatest superhero films ever made. I thought they let themselves down with the third Spider-Man film. A few years later, Andrew Garfield steps into the role of Spider-Man, and he was okay. He wasn't as charismatic as Tobey Maguire, but I felt that his Spider-Man interpretation and the Spider-Man films that he did were not that great because the villains were not believable. They weren't that convincing, and the actors in those roles were totally miscast. So we've got Spider-Man Homecoming, and they got it right in this film. The producers learned from their mistakes of the previous Spider-Man films, and now we've got a Spider-Man which is just a breath of fresh air. What I liked most about this film was the fact that they didn't focus more on the crime aspect of him being Spider-Man. They focused more on his high school element aspect. And it gives us a more lighter in tone Marvel film. It gives us a more entertaining Marvel film. It's a film that isn't like any other Marvel films. And the high school element within the film, we see Peter Parker as a high school student, is thoroughly entertaining. It is reminiscent of some of John Hughes' early work, be it Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, and other films that we used to watch back in the 80s, be it, Saved by the Bell, etc. And this film doesn't dip once. It doesn't lose its interest when you see Peter Parker as a high school student versus when you see Peter Parker dressed up as Spider-Man. They're both just as entertaining and both just as funny, and they work equally as well. Tom Holland is perfectly cast as Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man that we have been waiting for. Tom Holland is 20 years old, or around about that age, 21, 22. So he's playing a 15-year-old kid, and it works. And if you look at his predecessors, be it Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, they were in their late 20s trying to play someone that was in their teens. And when you look back at it now, you think, okay, not as believable as I thought it was. But still an enjoyable watch nonetheless. This film has got some great action sequences, great visual effects. The comedy one-liners come thick and fast, just as you expect from a Marvel film. Michael Keaton, what can I say? Phenomenal actor. This guy brought Batman to where it is right now, and he brings that same menace, that same charm, that same type of darkness to the role of Vulture. I thought it was excellent in the role, and he made a formidable opponent for Spider-Man. Even Bokeem Woodbine as Shocker. Now, there was a little Easter egg for you there. I thought it was great in that film, and I can't wait to see what they do with these characters in future Spider-Man films. The supporting cast in this film are great. Donald Glover is in this film. He plays Miles Morales' uncle, and that was a great Easter egg there because they did a Spider-Man cartoon just a few months last year, and I thought, you know what, that was a really, really good touch, and I can't wait to see where they go with this character also. Jacob Balatas as Ned, Peter Parker's friend. I thought he was phenomenal. He was a comedic revelation. He hadn't done anything prior to this, but this man's got a very bright future ahead of him. And he was just so funny, so charming. He supplied the banter, he supplied the wit, and he's a reminder of the friend that we had who wasn't that cool, but came thick and fast with the laughs. I like what he brought to Spider-Man Homecoming. I can't wait to see how this relationship expands in Spider-Man Far From Home. And again, these retrospective reviews are really, really good because again, you get to pick up on things that you may have missed out on. And what I like most about this film, that even though Robert Downey Jr. is on the cover, on the poster, he's not in it that much. He's only in it for about a good 40 to 45 minutes throughout the film. And it works because this is more Spider-Man's film. We get to see him as a teenager go into the world of his own. And Tony Stark is pretty much a surrogate father figure, offering him advice, telling him what he should do. So he's adopted that somewhat Uncle Ben type role to some capacity. And I liked how they didn't rehash that role also. There was no mention of Uncle Ben, but Tony Stark steps into the role and acts as a mentor towards him. But there were some great cameo appearances. I like what Chris Evans brought to this role as Captain America. His role in this film was really, really funny. And on the whole, this film was just a breath of fresh air. Went in a different direction. And what we've got here is a really, really entertaining film. Thoroughly enjoyable. Again, like I said before, you can thank Deadpool for that. Deadpool came out of left field, gave us something more entertaining, something more profane, and now we've got this with Spider-Man. And we've got a sequel coming out in June, Spider-Man Far From Home, in which he battles Mysterio. Another wonderful villain, played by the excellent Jake Gyllenhaal. I can't wait to see what they do with this. I can't wait to see the visual effects. I can't wait to see how his use of manipulation and being of visual effects, how they incorporate that into this film. It's going to be a treat, and I can't wait to watch it. But on the whole, Spider-Man Homecoming, thoroughly entertaining, loved every minute of it. Great installment, breathes life into a franchise that was becoming a bit stale. And Tom Holland, my hat's off to you, sir. You did a phenomenal job. So I'll give Spider-Man Far From Home, Homecoming, a very strong 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. If you haven't seen it, watch it. So that's my review. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel. Leave your comment with who is your favourite Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and I shall see you on the next film review. Take care.